Released last year, the Mobvoi TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra is an improved version of the already good TicWatch Pro 3. Whilst it looks similar to the original Pro 3, the design still looks stunning with its stylish design and minimal approach. Good job, Mobvoi. It features a dual display which not only makes it easy to read in bright environments, it also saves battery life. I wish more smartwatch manufacturers did this. I'm Dom, and in today's video we will be revisiting the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra after 6 months of me daily driving it. How's it going, guys? I'm Dom and welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since we last talked about the Mobvoi TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra, so I decided it was the right time to make an update video about it. Now, to be exact, it's been precisely 6 months since I last made a video. It was a first impressions video as well as a test, and if you are interested in having a look at that, I'll leave a link up above as well as down below in the description of this video. Now, after reading a lot of your comments, I decided to also include the fact that this is not the LTE version of this watch. This is just a standard GPS version. So yeah, let's start by talking about the durability of this watch. So to begin with, this watch is pretty durable. I mean, I've had watches for around 6 months that not only scratched easily, but also had the bands snap on me, and well, everything's, I guess. But this Mobvoi has really done a good job with this. I mean, there practically isn't any scratches on this watch, and the band hasn't snapped once. And you know, sometimes the rubber bands get like all messy and nasty. This band hasn't done that, so a huge thumbs up from me on that. Now, moving on to the performance of this watch is actually probably one of the best performing Android based smartwatches I've ever owned. I mean, it's snappy, it just works, and it does what it says on the tin, and that's important. Now, in terms of sensors, they tend to be very accurate. I haven't actually had an issue with the sensors on this watch, and I have worn two watches at the same time, including a fitness tracker and this watch, and the results were very, very similar, if not practically the same, which is never a huge thumbs up from me in that department. Now, one thing I will point out is that having all of your sensors enabled at the same time, even when you're not doing exercises, can impact your battery life. In general usage, the battery life will last me anywhere between 2 days and 2.5 days, which is actually still really, really good. But if I start using like all of the sensors, for example, if I go on a long cycle ride, I would probably charge my watch after the ride, simply because with all of the sensors enabled, like GPS and all of that, as well, the battery will not last you as long. I've had it last a day with all of these sensors enabled. I've had it last less, especially on the longer rides. Now, as of the last couple of weeks, what I have noticed is that the battery was draining a lot faster. Now, I don't know whether that is a technical fault or whether that's just me being an idiot and pressing something I shouldn't have pressed or enabling something I shouldn't have pressed. Most likely is because after resetting the watch to factory settings and maybe not enabling all of these sensors like 24-hour heart rate, the watch actually started to last quite long again, which is a huge thumbs up from me. I don't really need my heart rate monitor 24/7, although it is a nice thing to have, I guess. But at the end of the day, if you do want your battery to last a little bit longer, 24-hour heart rate monitoring maybe isn't the best idea to have enabled. Now, moving on to outdoor activities. Looking at forums and Reddit, there seems to be a lot of confusion about how waterproof this watch really is. Now, the manufacturer's website does state that it's IP68 water resistant. So let's take a bit of time to fully understand what that actually means. So if a device has a rating of IP68, it's deemed to be fit enough to withstand dust, dirt and sand. It's also suitable for submersion up to a maximum of 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. Now, from personal experience, and it's actually a rather sad story, but I have actually killed my Samsung Galaxy watch, the original Samsung Galaxy watch, in the water. So I am a little bit more preserved when it comes to taking my watch in the water. Now, due to the swimming facilities around my area not being great, I didn't really take this for a pool swim until I went on holiday, or as you in the States would call it, vacation. Back in August, I went to Budapest in Hungary, where I spent quite a few days in the water park as well as famous thermal baths. And I took this in with me, and wow, it still works. So huge, huge, huge thumbs up from me on that. With waterproof ratings, honestly, I can't stress this enough. Treat it with a pinch of salt, because I killed my Samsung Galaxy watch just by doing the washing up. You know, I accidentally put it under hot running water. Turns out that the water went into the device and, well, killed it. It didn't power on again. It made quite a severe vibration, like a cry out for help almost. And then it turned off and it never turned back on again. So after that experience, I honestly treat the waterproof ratings with a pinch of salt. Don't have it under fast running water. Don't have it in seawater. Obviously, salt can do a lot of damage. Um, and most importantly of all, it says 30 minutes. I wouldn't have the watch in that 30 minutes. And when I did have this in the pool, I did constantly use the speaker drain function just to make sure that the water has gone away from the speaker. Call it paranoid, but I guess better safe than sorry, particularly when you are spending a decent amount of your well-earned cash on a watch. Now, in terms of other outdoor activities, I tend to do a lot of cycling, and I took this watch out with me, and I also took out my Garmin cycling computer, and the results are practically identical. I mean, obviously the watch will show me more details, more information like my heart rate, that type of stuff, so it's a bit more accurate, but the GPS as well as my distance, my speeds and all that were practically identical. Now that brings me on to the next thing, and it's breaking my heart saying this, and it's not really Mobvoi's fault either, and that's the fact that some app manufacturers, some app developers have started to stop supporting Wear OS 2. Sad, that really is sad. And I'm talking here specifically about Strava, which I found out recently has dropped support for it. Strava was an app that I used a lot, and I honestly hope that once the Wear OS 3 upgrade comes onto this watch, it will be back, because it is an app that I use. But saying that, the Mobvoice apps on this watch are really good as well, and I absolutely adore the little map it gives you when you are doing a GPS activity. I just find it cute, and I think it's actually pretty awesome. Now, moving on to my everyday life with the watch, I think the watch performs absolutely great. Not only does it perform great, but at the same time, the dual display feature really does help, because when I had my Apple Watch, one thing that I really struggled with is on a sunny day like today, I didn't always see the screen, but with the dual tone display, if I wanted to check the time, I can do that. And with that as well, if your battery gets extremely low, it will activate power saving mode, which will only show the ever display, which keeps it running as a watch. Now that's something I wish that more smartwatch manufacturers done. Now, on a normal day of my life with the watch, I use the watch for, well, many things: replying to messages, viewing my notifications. If I go for a longer walk, I use the health tracking features of that, so I can start a walk activity. I use the schedule app. I use various apps, and on a normal day with high usage, the watch will at least, at a minimum, last me the entire day and night, so it will enable me to track my sleep as well, which is also pretty accurate in my view anyway. And yes, I have went to bed with two watches on me, and it was very, very accurate in that regard. Now, in terms of the overall performance, I haven't experienced a single crash on this watch, which, comparing it to other watches I had with Wear OS or Android Wear even, used to happen quite a lot. Now that brings me on to my biggest pet peeve of this watch, and that's the fact that it doesn't yet have Wear OS 3. It is something that has been said will most likely be added to this watch at a later date. To be exact, it should be towards the end of this year that Wear OS 3 is available. Fingers crossed on that, honestly, because I think that it will make this watch even more awesome. Now, unfortunately, the lack of Wear OS 3 isn't really Mobvoi's fault, and that's because from what I've been reading online, it appears that Samsung have an exclusivity window on Wear OS 3. So by the sounds of things, when the Pixel Watch is released, the Mobvoi may hopefully get a update. So for my verdict after 6 months, I still recommend this watch. I mean, it's great. It hasn't really failed me once, and it's got a dual display, which I think is pretty awesome. You know, it might not be quite as good as the Apple Watch Ultra, but out of the Android world, it's definitely a great watch, not only for outdoor activities, but also for everyday life. Now moving on to the Q&A part, I've asked you on Twitter, Reddit, and a few other sources a few questions. I've got a small amount of replies, but enough to talk to you about it. So first thing is first. So this person asked, if you swim, take it swimming regularly and see how well it does. I want someone to verify Mobvoi's claims about the watch's waterproofness. So once again, I believe I may have answered this one already, but once again, I tend to treat waterproofness in smartwatches with a pinch of salt based on my own experience. I have taken this swimming with me and it still worked, so that's a good thing. But one thing I have done is that I use the water drain feature constantly. Every time I took it out of the water, I use the water drain function. Call me paranoid, but I just didn't want to kill this watch because I really like this watch. This person asked Wear OS 3 when? Unfortunately, I think that's never when I've answered, but I have absolutely no information on when Wear OS 3 will be available. But my gut instinct is that we'll have more information once the Pixel Watch is released. This person also asked whether I had any experience with support, and I think that's a really good question which quite a few tech reviewers leave out. So my experience with support from Mobvoi is actually quite positive. Now, when I had the battery drain issue, I contacted Mobvoi support because I honestly thought that this may be a hardware issue. So they got back to me via email quite fast and explained that first thing is first, reset your watch and do the basic stuff, which I did, and it sort of fixed the watch for me, and I'm happy with that. So this person said some owners are experiencing periods where watch health stats like HR steps etc are not being updated in the Tick Health apps. May want to monitor this and address it if you have a similar experience. To be honest with you, it depends on what you are referring to. So if you are referring to the apps on the actual watch, that's not something I've ever experienced. But in terms of the mobile app, the Mobvoi mobile app, now one thing I have experienced with that app is, well, information not always showing up, but there is a really simple fix for that. You just literally refresh it and everything starts syncing. I never had any serious issues, and quite a few watch apps tend to do this. Even the Garmin app does it from time to time, so I think it's pretty normal. So this person asked for a comparison of other watches that are available and how accurate they measure stuff. So this person has a Fitbit, Samsung, Garmin, and they find that the TicWatch is very inaccurate with sleep, sometimes with heart rate and SpO2. Now I tested quite a few smartwatches whilst I was testing this, and I'll leave them linked down below if you wanted to check them out. But I even went to the extent of wearing two watches together, one of these being the Xiaomi Mi Band 7 and the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra. And whilst the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra obviously provided me with more information, I found the results to be extremely accurate on it. Now, I do understand that quite a few people have said that, the tracking isn't that accurate, but I just haven't experienced any of that. So I can only assume that it could be because of the way some people are wearing it, or because they have faulty units. I mean, I don't know. I just haven't experienced that at all. Now, moving on to some of my Twitter comments. So, something from nothing asked if I'm talking to Mobvoi, which I'm not, unfortunately. Please push some sort of ETA about the Wear OS 3 update. It would be amazing to get some news on this. They don't update the community anywhere near as they should. Now, whilst Mobvoi did send me this watch to try out about 6 months ago, they had absolutely no influence on either one of my videos. And this video is more of a video that is out of the blue. I decided that a 6 month review would be a really good idea. It will give you something to go with. Tech Jamo Joel is also making a video and thought that everyone has forgotten about this watch. I definitely haven't. I've been daily driving it for the past 6 months. But he asks some questions. So, how is the battery life? I think I've discussed the battery life pretty good. And have you some of it? I have certainly some of it, and it works, so that's a good thing. How consistent are my notifications? Now that's a really good one. I haven't really experienced any issues with my notifications being inconsistent. I mean, the only time they are is, say for example, I'm out and about, I leave my phone in the car, or I leave my phone somewhere and I don't have connectivity to the Wi-Fi. That's the only time they come late, which is as it should be. What phone am I using it with? That's another good question. So I use it with a total of 2 phones. I use it with a Samsung Galaxy S21 and I use it with the Pixel 6 Pro, which is the current phone I'm using it with. And the last question is, have there been any connectivity issues? The short answer to that is no, there haven't been any connectivity issues. Maybe the GPS being slightly slower at times at finding a satellite, but other than that, there have been no other connectivity issues that I can recall. So Murdo180 asked, why does Google Wallet not work on the watch in some shops but does on the phone app? Now, I really had to think about this because I have experienced it where I can't remember which shop it was, but I was in a shop, I tried to pay for it and it was just declining. Now, I tried to pay with my phone as well, which had Google Wallet on it, and that failed as well. So I could only assume that there was an issue with the card reader and not my bank account, because I paid contactlessly with my card without any issues. Now at the same place, right, I always used to pay with my iPhone and my Apple Watch without any issue. So the card reader is either not liking Google Pay, or I don't know, but it's really strange, and it's now been fixed. They've replaced the card readers, so that's a good thing, I guess. So DT said, just received mine as a comp winner, congratulations. Still learning it. One issue I have is a lack of a compass. I would like to see the waterproofness, as I've heard very mixed reviews. Also, a offline music player app currently can only stream from phone, although the speaker is clear. I haven't actually tried a offline music player with this watch, so I don't know about that. But I'm almost certain that there are compass apps available. Let me just have a look. And actually, one thing I also like about this watch is the extremely accurate keyboard. And I have not experienced a more accurate keyboard on a smartwatch yet. Yeah, so it does look that there are compass apps available. I haven't really tried it, but they are available. So there's a free one here as well. They are available. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. It will honestly mean a lot if you do, as it will help the channel grow. And if you do have any questions that I haven't answered in this video, feel free to type them down below and I'll try my best to answer them. Till next time.